Matthew Sweet is here in Cleveland on tour promoting this album, Earth, an A&M release. Matthew's behind the album, there he is. And you've got 3 recordings out now, and well, an EP, and the 2 LPs.
Right.
But you've worked with like 8 or more producers.
Yeah, well, those were mostly on the on the Columbia album. At the time I made that, it was really kind of an in vogue thing for producers to agree to do a couple of tracks with an artist instead of a whole album. So we found that it was easier to find people we liked who had a little bit of time and wanted to do a couple of things than to find someone who had the time to do a whole album. So it just sort of snowballed. I did one track over in England with a guy named Alan Tarney, and he wanted to record it like that next week, but just had time for one track. So we did that, and then it was like, well, I guess we'll go ahead and do it. But it's been a great thing for me working with so many producers, because I think it helped me to really quickly gain a lot of insight and experience in the studio that would have taken me many albums to learn had I done it, the conventional way. So. And
of course now you're involved in the production yourself.
Yeah, and I even kind of was then. Usually, working with a producer, it's funny that producers get a lot, I don't know, I guess some producers are really dominant and they really control the way an artist works. It's never really been that way with me. We'll usually get into the studio and we look at each other and like neither of us knows what to do. And unless a producer is also a musician, it really rests on the artist to be in control of things musically. So I think in a lot of situations where there's a producer credited, the artist is actually probably as much of a producer as the producer himself is.
No, you're not what you'd say a craftsman when you're writing a song, and it more or less just comes to you, it flows out.
Yeah, it tends to be just kind of a little burst of this music thing that kind of pops up in my head. And although I get pegged, I think, a lot as a kind of a pop craftsman, I put together songs that are really seamless. I don't really do it in that way. I think a lot of people that are classified as that do actually sit down and think, okay, here's a great chorus and a great verse, and they hook them together in a perfect way. And I try not to do that. I think that makes things really sterile and makes for records and songs that sound a lot like a song you've heard before or whatever, very formulaic. And so I try to just like get a burst of energy and like then kind of weld it into a shape.
So does it come easy for you, or are you thinking, well, now I'm going to sit down and write a song and it comes out, or is it more like you're driving in the car and you're
It's more like I'm driving in the car, yeah, and I'm searching for a pencil. It'll tend to a lot of times happen in my head first, like a lot of times in the shower, actually. But I will usually just kind of be in a mood to write. I don't usually need to set aside time to write. I probably will have to do that more now that I've become really busy doing the touring and all that. It used to be I was home a lot, and so I would just kind of get out of bed and have this idea and wander in and record it. But it's kind of like an urge I get. Like I just kind of get in the right frame, and I know it's going to happen.
Your first band experiences came when punk rock exploded, and a lot of punk rock made a lot of people who had no musical experience at all go out and buy a guitar and go in a band.
Right.
And, they can't play, but you've survived that by mastering quite a few instruments.
Yeah, well, it wasn't really that way with me. I didn't kind of join the punk revolution by, anybody can play a guitar. I was a bass player before that, and, I learned to play bass off of, like, Yes records and all these, like, progressive things, Electric Light Orchestra and stuff. I would learn the bass lines off all these really technical things. And then that revolution happened, and what it really did for me was help me find a spirit that brought me enjoyment through music that wasn't based upon like technical playing and all that, and gave me the urge to write songs and play more instruments myself so that I could flesh out that vision of the songs I was writing. So I think that it was mostly for me an energy thing when that happened. It was like, wow, I can play one note through most of the song, and it's 100 times more exciting than that Stanley Clarke lick that took me 10 hours to learn.
We have the video to Vertigo, and we're going to be seeing it right now. So why don't you tell me a little bit about that, the song or the video? Okay, well, Vertigo it's a song about sort of fear of closeness and relationships, of taking risks, and the video was really a lot of fun to make. A real guitar legend, this guy Robert Quine, is in it. I actually got him in my video. When I was a teenager, during this punk revolution, I was listening a lot to this guy Richard Hell, who Bob Quine played with. I never dreamed that I'd have him play with me.
But since then he worked on this record, so that was a triumph to have him in my video, because I know he's never been on MTV or whatever before, and so that was fun. There's all sorts of kind of wild things going on in the video. There's all this shaving stuff that's kind of for tension with this razor blade and the jugular vein. I love that part. But it was a lot of fun to make, actually. A good experience.
Great. Well, let's take a look at it right now.
All right.
Matthew Sweet, new album, Earth. Here's the video, Vertigo.